Well, I really think covering the White House changes with whatever new administration comes in. And I don't think I'm saying anything out of line or controversial to say that there's never been a president like this one. And so I actually was just talking to one of our White House correspondents the other day, and I was saying, well, when we came in with Obama, it was the same thing. And then I was like, no, never mind. It's not at all the same. I can't even compare to what you guys are doing. I mean, obviously, there's a certain contentiousness between the press corps and the Trump White House, but I will say that is also quite natural, and it may go a little farther in this particular case. But I mean, every White House tends to have an adversarial relationship with the press, and that's part of what would be expected in our democracy. But I think in terms of the news cycle, the fact that you have a president that is capable and willing of tweeting 8 different things, 8 different stories, 8 different things to follow up. It's like drinking out of a fire hose right now for us, but certainly our colleagues who are covering the White House beat. I mean, and then you have to also be mindful of being subject to attempts to change the subject, which every White House tries to do, but he is able to do to great effect.
Thank you. We have a room full of aspiring journalists. How many of you want to go broadcast? And how many of you can wave and say hi to Savannah? Hi. Thank you.
Hi.
So next question, this I'm going to tee up for them, and then we're going to go to their questions. Career advice.
Oh gosh. Well, that's a big question. I was just talking to our interns at the Today Show yesterday, and I always feel like I'm long-winded but short on practical help. But here's one thing I've kind of told people over the years, and I think it's a good piece of advice. A lot of times people who are sitting where you're sitting right now, particularly when they're getting close to graduating, are wondering, gosh, should I go to grad school? Like, should I go to law school like you did? Should I go to a big city and be an intern for a big station, or should I take a job at that tiny station where I would actually get to produce the 5 o'clock news? Or, there are all these kinds of questions about, like, what is the right thing to do? What should I be going for? And what I always tell people is, when you're starting out, take the opportunity and the job that is closest to the thing you actually want to do. So in other words, if you really want to be a reporter, don't go to law school if you have a job that you could do, at the local newspaper, even if you want to be a TV reporter. Whatever is nothing, you're not going to walk out of college and get your dream job anchoring the nightly news, probably. So everything won't be exactly perfect, but whatever is closest to the thing that you ultimately want to do, if you want to be in journalism and you want to be a reporter, get as close to working in journalism as you possibly can. Sometimes that might even be a marketing job at a TV station. Get close to it, as close as you can. I hope that makes sense. I think that generally opens up paths and gets you in the right direction. These are long journeys. The whole thing, when I was sitting where you were sitting, I hate to say it, was 24 years ago. 24 years ago. And so it takes a long time, but the important point is just to take a step toward the thing you want to do.
Thank you. All right. Who's up with a question? Go ahead.
Come on down.
Come on down. Introduce yourself, what year you are, and say hi to Savannah.
Hi, my name is Ireland, and I'm a freshman. What has been your most memorable interview that you have done, and why?
Gosh, that's a good question. There are different kinds of interviews, Ireland. Like, I think anytime you interview a sitting president, that's always the most intimidating, I think, in terms of that's very high profile. They always give you a very short amount of time, and there's too much to ask, and so there's tons of pressure just to get the questions out and get what you're trying to get them to answer something differently. So that was, I think, the times I interviewed President Obama. That's probably my most memorable for me in terms of that was the hardest. That was the most challenging, but also the most rewarding. And in one of our interviews, I think, well, you watched the one, I think, about Syria, which got kind of tough. But right before that interview, we did a live, it was the year the Super Bowl was on NBC. So the president traditionally does a live interview with the network that's carrying the football game. And so we did a 5-minute live interview before the interview you guys just watched. And we did it in the White House kitchen where the White House brews its own beer. So it was kind of funny because it was like Super Bowl audience. So that's a little scary and intimidating. It's like tens of millions of people. And then I'm standing with President Obama and he's like, hey, and it's like, then he wants to drink beer. And then 5 minutes later, we're sitting down and having this pretty tough discussion about Syria. So that's probably one of my more memorable experiences. Thank you so much. Sure. We need music to play when you guys.
Hi, thank you for your time. My name is Carmen, and I'm a junior here in the program. My question is, throughout your career, what has been some of the obstacles you've had to face as a woman journalist, and what has been that learning experience for you?
It's so funny, Carmen, because I was just talking to the interns yesterday, and I get this question every single time, and I find it so fascinating because I think it's great that young women and journalists are focused on those issues. But I always feel like I don't have a great answer for it because the truth is I've always just tried to do the job. And I can't say that there aren't challenges sometimes because you are a woman. But I found that by just putting my head down and doing the work and being super prepared, extra prepared, that has always held me in good stead. So it's not that I see all of those things. I'm aware of them. I know. I don't think being a woman has held me back. I do think there are times when being a woman does add an extra level of challenge, whether it's a subtle thing. In our day and age, it's not like when our moms, or who am I kidding? I'm probably your mom's age. My mom, it was a different situation. And I think the fact that I can say that I feel I got through this business and was never really inhibited by the fact that I was a woman is because I stand on the shoulders of a lot of really strong women like a Barbara Walters or a Diane Sawyer or Connie Chung and all these women that they broke the barrier, and there was a barrier. But in this day and age, any kind of discrimination or issues you face are much more subtle. That said, I still think the response is the same. You can see it, you can know it, you know what it is, but just keep on doing your job and be the best that you can be. I mean, I think success is the ultimate answer to anything like that. Obviously, if there's a real problem, if you were getting harassed at work or anything like that, you should speak up in there. But I think we're talking about just what is it like in our business? Are you taken seriously? And I think we face those challenges, and I face them too. I mean, I've talked about sometimes, especially in politics, we do tough interviews and we ask hard questions, and we have such a divided society that people are always mad at you. No matter if you ask a hard question, they're mad at you, whether it's on the left or on the right. But you know what? Sometimes I have noticed, but what they say to me is, why do you make that sour face? Why are you so shrill? Why are you, and sometimes I'm like, I think that might be because I'm a woman, but whatever, it's like, I just kind of carry on. It's not going to change what I do. It's kind of irritating, but it's just one of those things that you deal with. So yes, I think there's a little bit of it, but it shouldn't discourage you. It's a great time to be a woman in this business.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
Hi there, my name is Frank. I'm a freshman here at the U of A, and just kind of tying into the fact that we are at the University of Arizona and you're a Tucson native, my question is, how did your experience at the University of Arizona, specifically in the journalism program, give you a sort of unique experience that we couldn't necessarily get anywhere else?
I really, really still to this day value my education at the University of Arizona in journalism, and I'm not saying that so that they can use this clip on their like recruiting. They didn't have a broadcast journalism department at all, Frank. It was all print journalism, and I don't know if any of those professors are still there, but it was like a bunch of old guys who were like newspaper dudes, and they were very serious, but they were real reporters. And what I love about the education I got there, and I presume that it's just as good and probably 10 times better now, is that got those basic skills of how to get a story, that the ethics of it, the standards that we all have and try to adhere to in terms of fairness, accuracy, speed, precision, thoughtfulness, all of those kinds of values that I hold dear as a journalist and really think are important and are more threatened than ever. I got them there. That's where I learned. I mean, that, and I, you know, they used to, I don't know if they still do, they used to send us out to cover like the city council or the supervisors. And, you know, that's a hard assignment right there. When they send, do they still do that?
Yes.
The worst. But let me, the worst is the best, because if you can go in there and make sense of it and figure out what is the story here, you can, then you're ready to go when you get out of school. You can go cover something complicated, because as a student, I would walk into those meetings and, you know, I didn't even know what they were talking about. And you would have to go and find, what is the story? What is something to write about? Figure it out. And that was like the school of hard knocks. So I think just lots of those kinds of experiences I thought were really valuable. And they also, there was a real emphasis on practical experience. So yes, I wrote for the Tombstone Epitaph. Does that still exist?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. You know, and we'd have to go down there and then find stories, and it would be like a new leaf blew into town. Turns out it's from an old maple back east. No, I'm just kidding. No, you'd have to enterprise stories and write and it's like you had to have the courage and the guts to walk up to people, total strangers, and try to get a story. And I mean, it's just great experience. You can't. It's a school where you do something, and I really appreciated that, and it was very practical. It's not like one of these educations you get where it's like, oh, I'm so glad I read Rene Descartes. That's going to make me super popular at cocktail parties in the future. Okay, this is a practical thing. Whether you do journalism or not, knowing how to report, how to write, those are skills for life.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, my name is Savannah. I'm a sophomore here, and so after you graduated at the University of Arizona, you went to law school at Georgetown. Now, what were your steps after that to get to where you are today?
Well, it's complicated, Sienna, but basically, you know, I did local news for 5-6 years. That's how I know Colleen, and I guess it was when I was 27 years old, I applied to law school. That's a long story, but I ended up going. And when I was in law school, I needed a part-time job, so I ended up getting a freelance reporter job at the NBC station in Washington, D.C. So I tried to keep my foot in the door, and that meant a lot of work and a lot of late nights. I would go to law school all day long, and then I would go work for the 3 to 11 p.m. shift in local news, standing in like the worst corner of Washington, D.C., reporting on a murder or whatever. But it was good because it kept my tape and my material was more fresh than it would have been had I just left journalism in 1999 and tried to get back into it in 2004, which is what I did. So I went to law school. I took the bar. I practiced law for a short time. I was supposed to do a clerkship with a federal judge, and I kind of had an epiphany that I really had this burning desire to try to make it in television, and not back in local news, but to really make it and to really go for it and try to be a network correspondent. And I just couldn't shake that feeling. So I went to the judge that I was supposed to come work for and told him, Judge, I'm so sorry, I'm not going to be able to come work for you this fall. I want to go back to journalism. And he said, well, oh, okay, well, that's why. And do you have a job offer? And I said, no. And he said, but do you have any prospects? And I said, no. And he said, well, then why don't you just come clerk for me? And, then you can go back to your journalism. I get it. And I said, because I know if I don't do it now, I'll never have the courage again. And I told the judge I wasn't going to work for him. And then I had like no job, no nothing. And I kind of pulled together as many resources as I could. I tried every contact I'd ever made. I met with an agent in New York and this, that. I just tried to cobble together some kind of job opportunity. And I ended up after a few months getting a tip that Court TV was hiring. And that was very fortunate because they wanted somebody who was a lawyer. They only had lawyers on air. And they wanted somebody who had been a reporter. They wanted a real TV reporter. And so for me, that was my foot in the door. And from there, I worked there for, I don't know how many years, quite a few years, running around the country covering trials. And because I covered high profile trials like the Michael Jackson case or the Kobe Bryant rape case or all these different things, NBC started using me as a legal analyst. And that's how I first got on their radar. And then one day they called. And I flipped out.
Hi, Savannah. My name is Michelle. I'm a sophomore here at U of A. I'm just wondering, I know you've covered politics for NBC for a long time now, and a lot of times reporters get burnt out on that beat really fast. How do you keep your head above the water? And just what makes you get up in the morning every day and want to go to work still?
Yeah. Hi, Michelle. Thank you so much. Well, you're definitely right that politics can make you kind of burn out. And when I was at the White House, that definitely happened to me. It's one of those things like you love it, but you hate it. It's all consuming. For me, I never felt like I was on top of it. I never felt like I could know all there was to know, that I could call all the people there were to call. And so I always kind of had a pit in my stomach for like all those 3 or 4 years. And it was also just a grind. We would get up in the morning, I would do a live shot on Morning Joe that would last like 20 minutes. And it was, it's not one of those like, and back to you, Jerry, it's like 20 minutes spending your dissertation every day. I mean, pretty complex policy discussion. And then I would do my Today Show live shot. And then I would go, and we had a cable show, anchor a cable show, go back to the White House, ask a question at the briefing, do live shots around every hour for MSNBC, do a piece for Nightly News, go home, eat dinner, write my piece for the Today Show the next day, go to bed, wake up, rinse, repeat. So by the end, I was burned out. I definitely was burned out. And I was looking to go. And I really thought, honestly, I felt like NBC, if I told them I don't really want to be on the White House beat anymore, I honestly thought they would say, well, I'm sorry, then, be on your merry way, because that's the job we want you to do. But when I finally, and this took years, worked up the courage to tell my boss, I just don't want to do it anymore. He said, okay, well, I was kind of hoping you'd want to stay there for a while, but we'll just have to find something else for you to do. And so I ended up going to the 9 o'clock hour of the Today Show. And then I moved to New York, and they made me the legal analyst. And that was great. And that actually, the best thing about it, this goes to your question now about how do I keep it now. So now I feel like things are much more in balance. And I love my job because I get to interview the president, and I get to do, whatever's going on, the Russia investigation, whatever, like the United Airlines CEO, if he's going to do an interview, like he's probably going to come on a show like the Today Show, and you get to ask those questions. And so it's just great. If you love news, it's the place to be. But at 8 o'clock, I could be clowning around with Barry Manilow as I was today, and it's such a great mix, and it's such a relief, and it's the right mix for me. I think it fits my personality. And so even though I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, which is crazy, I'm genuinely thrilled and excited to do that job. It's challenging enough to make me want to get up, but it's fun enough that I don't dread it. And coffee, just a lot of coffee.
Savannah, my name's Brandon. I'm a junior here.
Hi.
This mic's a little Nancy Sharkey size.
I like your style.
Your mom's here, and she said that you're a fan of Katie Couric. I'm also a fan, and junior year here, we kind of start our broadcast classes, so kind of more of a stylistic question. Did you kind of draw some of your styles in your interviewing and things like that from people like her, or how did you develop your style?
You know, it's funny, I am a Katie fan, and I think that when I was when I was sitting where you were, that was when Katie started, and I remember seeing her, and it was the first time. It's not that I wanted to be like her, it's that I saw that what she was, I was like, yeah, I get her, and I think I could do that, you know, in my mind. That was like my little secret in my head. I guess my mom knew. You know, I was like, I think I could do that. But in terms of, in the beginning, when I first started in local news, I mean, I hope those tapes are burned in ashes somewhere, because I was always trying to be someone else. But I don't think I was trying to be Katie. I think I was trying to be Diane Sawyer. I mean, honestly, all my tracks and my voiceovers for my local news pieces, I don't even sound like myself. I'd be like, 4 were shot today at the da-da-da. I don't know who I was trying to be, Paul, or I was trying to be someone that doesn't sound the way I sound to you right now, because I didn't want to sound like a Valley girl. But I still don't want to, but I kind of do. But I think that over time, you find your voice. And there's no shortcut. It's just practice. But I will say this, you do have to really just be yourself. You have to be professional, but don't put on an act. I mean, that's not what this is about. The people that, especially now, it's such a different, I think like in the 80s, even before I was in TV, in the old days, you know, it was like guys, and they were, you know, had the suits, and they had a kind of a mask, and I'm going to give you the news, and it was this voice of God thing. And that's just not what is current today. It's not how people connect to people they see on television. So I think authenticity is key. That doesn't mean like lay back, like, oh, anyway, you know, it's not totally authentic, because that's ridiculous. You have to be professional. But I think trying to be real and not put on an act is important. Because if you try to put on and be like, this is my reporter face, this is my reporter voice, it's not going to work. And I tried it, so trust me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Savannah. Not quite as tall as Brennan.
Hi.
My name's Riley Burswell. I'm a grad student here. Also a Pi with a couple of assistants behind me. So PBL for life, am I right? Anywho, a lot of the people that you interview probably have pre-scripted responses before you even ask the questions. How do you get them to veer off script and give you what you actually want to hear?
Yeah. Well, really good question. I would just say it's not what I want to hear. It's more something new. I want to elicit something that they haven't said before. And you're totally right. I do want to get them off their talking points. Sometimes, to be honest, you know, these guys and gals in politics, which is what we're usually talking about, they're really, really good at staying on their talking points. And they don't seem to have much shame about just totally ignoring your question. I mean, it happens more often than not. You ask a question and they just say whatever. It doesn't even matter. It's like there's no connection between the question and the answer. If they're really good, they make a pass at seeming to answer the question and then shift into. So a couple things. Number one, you got to be prepared. Generally speaking, they've all kind of talked about some of these issues before. So the best way to prepare if you're sitting down with someone that's done a lot of interviews is to read the transcripts. Don't read the articles about them. Read the transcripts of what they've said in the past, because there's always, to me, when I study these transcripts, there's always, you'll know what's coming, and then you know where like the little crack of light is, where you can wriggle on through, you know, and sometimes you can head them off at the pass. You know, I know you say X, but that's not what I'm asking. So you've kind of like taken away their rote answer and taken it off the table. That's one way to do it. And I think you've got to be really present with them and really listen in the moment. I think that also is key, and you have to be willing to interrupt, which is awkward for those of us. And since my mom is there, I do like to think that not to interrupt, but in our jobs, you have to. And in TV, it's a really tricky thing because you want to be respectful. Viewers don't like it if they think you're just barging in and not letting someone answer. And they don't hear it the way I hear it, like, oh, yada, yada, yada. I know you've said this 20 times before. For them, they're hearing it for the first time. So if it feels that I didn't give them a fair shake, they're mad at me, and they don't think that, I've done a good job or given someone a fair chance. So the big trick of the trade is read those transcripts. Because same answer you'll find.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hi Savannah, I'm Savannah too.
Wow!
Yes, I've heard it so many times since I've been in this school. Everyone asks me if I've heard of you. But my question, so I'm more interested. No, it's okay. I love it. But my question is, so I'm interested in more entertainment news, and you obviously kind of do both entertainment and politics. What's the difference between them? What do you prefer, and what would you recommend to someone who's more into the entertainment aspect of it?
Yeah. So I know less about how to get into those entertainment jobs. I mean, you're right. Now with this job that I have, we do quite a bit of that. So we interview celebrities all the time. And it's a whole other kind of challenge but in some ways similar, because they have their talking points too. And if you think politicians are hard to interview, celebrities can be even harder because they have all these handlers around them who think that they don't have to answer questions. They just want you to be like, and what attracted you to the role of Chewbacca or whatever? There might be a lot of times they come in here and they've got like a little scandal going on or something, and there's something like newsy that we have to ask. So I will say that even if you're in entertainment journalism, you're still a journalist. And so everything you're learning, keep those principles. I mean, in terms of you can't tell the publicist, I won't ask that. We don't do that. They try to get us to do that, but we don't do that. We're like, this is a news show. You knew that when you were coming on. So you should expect to get a question on anything that seems in the news or relevant. So that's one piece of it. You really do need to keep all your same journalism skills. And then the other thing is when you do interview these celebrities, a lot of them are really shy. Actors, you'd think, oh, they must be like so full of life or gregarious, but a lot of them are like, they're not. They're very quiet and reserved and hard to draw out. And so I find that when I sit down with anyone like that, at first I'm just trying to get to know them a little bit. It's a different goal. Like for a politician, I'm trying to get out some piece of news that will advance the story. With a celebrity, I'm trying to draw them out. I'm trying to have a good conversation. I'm trying to create a moment of connection between us. So you kind of approach it more from a human level. And I think that's if you can do that with a celebrity, that would be my measure of success for myself. It's like, do we see a side of them that we didn't usually see, or did they relax? Did they crack a smile? Did she and I share a joke or a moment? Because that's going to make it for a really fun, great piece.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome, Savannah.
Hi, my name is Gabby Duco. I'm a junior here. So I've noticed this year just a lot of us are scrambling just because we're older to get internships and jobs and all that stuff and just kind of sending them everywhere. So what's kind of your advice to make a resume stand out and cover letters as well and all that?
Yeah. So do you mean a resume tape or the paper resume?
Kind of both.
Yeah. Well, gosh, it was so funny. I used to always have my resume up to date, but I'm getting soft now. I haven't done my resume in a long time. But I think when I look at resumes, I think people in this day and age have a pretty good BS detector. So try to be as, you obviously, there's something about writing a resume. There's a whole skill to it where you want to put your experience in the best light and all of that. But I think being straightforward in your resume is a good thing. You know, don't gild the lily too much. And then, you know, I assume all the things that used to be true, or I don't have any special insight because I don't actually, in my job, like I don't look at a lot of resumes. I don't know how people do it. But if it were me and someone handed me their resume, like I wouldn't want it to be pink, you know, and I wouldn't want it to smell like perfume. I'd want it to be like newsy and informative and not, I wouldn't want gimmicks. And that's me. I don't know. And I haven't talked to any of my bosses about it, people that look at resumes. But what you really should think is like, imagine I'm like the person that just has no time at all. And I want to get to, all right, what's the name? Where are they from? Okay, what experience have they had? Oh, where'd they go to school? You know, maybe what were their grades, if their grades were good. I mean, it depends on the kind of job. Most journalism jobs, I don't think they care too much about your grades, but I shouldn't say that. They care a lot. But anyway, that's what I think the main thing to remember is these are busy people and you want to make it easy for them. Even like use big font. The old people don't see anymore.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll do one more question.
Okay. Is it from my mom?
Yeah. Nancy, why don't you stand up while she's getting up so she can see you? Oh, just you stand up. There's Mom. Can you see her waving? Okay. Come on.
Is why text and not call?
Hi, I can't compete with your mom, but it's okay. I'm Sierra. I'm a junior here in the program. So building off of Gabby's question, what advice do you have for people that will be interning at the network level?
Be willing to do anything. You know, I think just do whatever job they give you, whether it's like getting to Starbucks for somebody or ripping scripts or answering phones or whatever, do it like it is brain surgery and the most important job you've ever done. That is the kind of attitude that gets noticed. The thing that, you know, and this is true of like any, it's really in life I found there's always the people in law school we used to call them the gunners, you know, like they were the ones always like raising their hand, you know, just kind of showy. And that doesn't really actually work that well in life. People spot those folks a mile away. Like you want to be a doer. You want to be the person who's like the bright, shining doer. Whatever it is, you do it with zeal. And then the other thing is, and it's you gotta get it right, but you should also, you know, look for opportunities. And if you see the anchor of the Today Show walk by, just say, don't be afraid to say, oh hi, you know, I'm Sienna and I'm Paige here, and I just wanted to say hi, you know, and let me know if I can ever help you. Great, thanks. A lot of times, like we have so many interns and pages, and they're buzzing around all the time, and they switch out like every couple months. So, you know, it's like you fall in love, and then they break up. They're gone, and they're out of our lives. You know? But the ones that I remember and have forged a connection with are the ones that, in a not obnoxious way, made a connection with me because. You know, I'm like in the middle of the day, it's crazy, it's like the craziest time, but they just say, oh, you know, here's your coffee, and by the way, I'm Kate, I'm the new Paige here, I'll be for a couple months. I'm like, oh, great, thanks, Kate, where are you from? You know, and then, but that doesn't mean that every day we'll be like, hi, oh, it's me again, so what should we talk about today? You know, you have to have good radar and interpersonal skills, but it's a combination of being assertive but not obnoxious. So find that like sweet spot, but be assertive. Don't just fade into the background either. So it's kind of like find that right spot. But the number one thing is like be the best doer. Get it done, whatever it is, do it with a smile. That's
Savannah will wrap it up here. You were fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing all this time, all this wonderful advice, and for the shout out to Tombstone. We loved it. So can we get a warm, assertive Wildcat round of applause?
so much. It's so fun to talk to you. Thank you for the awesome questions. I expect no less from very excellent U of A journalism students, and I wish you the best. And I encourage you. It's a great, great career. So go for it. If it's burning in your heart and you want to do it, go for it. You can do it. Okay. Now, how do I turn this thing off? Just kidding. I know. Bye, Mom.